Synergy, yeah. So not so that we can like manipulate or try to get people to come under our. It's like no, like we share the same vision. We have a similarity in philosophy. We may not use the same tools, but we're operating under the same principles, and we're all about seeing the targets engaged and seeing fruit.
One of the things that we're about to do in Oklahoma City is we finally got to the place to where we've got distinctive teams. They've been a group together, so we've got distinctive teams, but they've always been able to do church together. And we've gotten to the place to where our structure is too weak. The trellis that the vine's hanging on is too weak to handle kind of the way in which these teams are starting to birth out, because we're on, praise God, but we're on a third wave of leadership development now in Oklahoma City, and we're about to restructure everything around a mid-level that happens 4 times a year. We're doing it on every 5th Sunday weekend, or just 5th Sunday. Long story made short, what we're going to do is we're taking the 5x5 that we learned, Kyle, in the 5 T's training, and the structure that Mark put together. If you haven't seen that yet, Tim, I'd love for you to look at it. But the structure that Mark put together on the way in which he's doing lead and lag measures based upon his focus areas of the people and places, where he's tracking what the activities are doing, and then how do they track the fruit that's a result based upon, and if I use too much jargon here, I'm sorry, but based upon the phase that they're in. Because I heard you make mention, we don't have 50 generations, which is irrelevant to me, because if you're adopting right now, it doesn't make any sense to track generations of churches. Sure. So what we're going to do in Oklahoma City is we're going to have people basically say, here's our focus, here's the phase that we're in, here's what's happening based upon the activities, high value activities that we're doing, and here's the results that we've seen so far. And then they're going to tell one basically story, an anecdotal story out of the work that kind of represents all of what they're explaining that God's going to do. And we're going to have each team do that in about 10 minutes as a group. And then we're going to pray over the teams. And then we're going to have a vision casting session where we're going to spend about 15 to 20 minutes of actually, like, I don't want to call it a traditional sermon, but more of a rah kind of prophetic, go get them, go back to the DNA moment, and then end it all with response time, worship together, and then make a plan for your next 3 months based upon those things. Again, that's the structure we're building in Oklahoma City to bring everybody together, because they're feeling disjointed now. What I want to know is, what are you guys doing practically right now to keep your teams in fellowship with one another, but also distinct in their focus areas and work? And how's that working for you guys? It's a super practical question.
Sure. Yeah. Again, I don't know if we have like a whole slew of teams per se. We were just,
that's perfectly fine. I'm just curious about what you're doing with where you are in the work right now.
Well, I think that's something I'm specifically trying to work on. I know for the last couple of years, I've been very tunnel vision on maybe those micro, on those people groups, but I haven't done a good job of looking up and seeing who else is doing this. And so there is a team in Little Arabia that we're trying to be better connected with. I don't know if I understand your question specifically.
So like, let's take that team in Little Arabia. Like, what are you doing right now to engage and to begin to build relationships with them, so that you can kind of pop your head up a little bit and say, we're a part of the team? Like, what does that look like for you guys right now? What are you trying?
Yeah, I think again, it's just forming right now. And so it's just sharing the work, sharing the stories and the work of what God is doing. And, of course, trying to encourage each other and remind ourselves of the vision that God has for us. And so those are just some.
So does that look like you guys getting together? Does that look like you guys just informally kind of talking with each other? Are you in a text group, a signal group? Or are you just meeting out in the work? You prayer walking together? Like honestly, how are you guys interacting? I know this seems super practical, but I'm really curious about it.
No, it's good. Again, so honestly, we just got connected with them like 2 weeks ago. So it's
how did that
fresh. Happen? I was connected with this guy like 5 years ago, and again, I didn't do a good job fostering that relationship. And he actually had a good network of teams in that Little Arabia area. Well, actually, they all moved out, and now he's the only one in Little Arabia. And so, I don't know, it just kind of felt like a stewardship to adopt them, I guess, if that makes sense. A stewardship, just to like, hey, we're on the same team together. Let's team together. And so, yeah, we set up like a Signal page together. We're gonna share stories together. I know we got a teammate Robert and Katie who are targeting specifically Little Arabia and including this guy into the work that's happening in Little Arabia. Just doing a better job of like, we're on God's team together, so let's work together. We're both going after movement and God's heart for that. So those are just some practical things. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's good. The reason I asked the question is just because, I find probably the hardest thing to do to get people engaged with UPGs, even in Oklahoma City, is just building some type of a network of relationships that it just seems like it takes a long time to build trust with a group of people, where they don't just say, oh, you're doing that and we're doing this, but they start to see it as we're doing this together, even though one might be over here working or whatever. And I just find that it's very difficult to build a consensus that we are the church and together we're going after UPGs, even across models or brands or logos or churches or whatever, to just kind of clear all that stuff out and just say, man, we're in this together, even if we go about it in different ways. That's just I don't know. Mark, you can tell me. I mean, Mark's probably way better at it, working at it in New York right now, but just, it's hard to get everybody to go, let's do this together,
Yep. Yeah, I think that's, in apostolic work, you're very oftentimes very isolated, very alone, very driven, that it's good just to pause and remind yourselves of the church together.
We're in this trust building season right now here, and been at it for about a year, and it may take a while yet, but like what you're talking about, Tim, that's a pre-existing relationship, and trust is just such an important currency in seeing that together piece built regionally. And so you can't rush it. You can't organize it. So you have it to organize, as Guy Caskey has said. But if you try to put that organization on it too early, it actually can break down whatever trust you might have had. That's been my experience. So we're trying to not rush it and build trust right now. Yeah.
Because it's almost like if you try to put something on it, some label on it too quickly, then people start to kind of hesitate because they think you're trying to own them. Like it's almost like when you get a group of apostolics or people who are kind of maverick in their way of doing things, as soon as you try to consolidate under a banner, they start going, hey, you don't own me. And you've got to interact with a group of men and women that behave this way in a different way, where we got to have a banner that's big enough for us to say, man, we're together in this. This is one of the things I love about No Place Left is that banner is so big that people can go, yeah, I'm no place left. And then you go, well, what does that mean? And there could be a lot of different ways of describing that. Kyle, you were shaking your head. Yes. Like, what are some things that you've, especially because you've been plugging away in Dallas for quite some time now, and even beyond that, you were in, Metro New York.
Yeah, I think it's
curious on your thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's just trying to be a servant to whoever has vision overlap, and the minute someone feels like you're trying to get them to come on, your wavelength, or
like you're getting recruited or whatever.
Yeah, it's like, especially in apostolic, they're like, nah, no, I'm good. But I like I like the just the mentality of, like I mentioned earlier, just that mob mentality.
Yes.
It's hey, we're gonna meet at Desert Moon in Anaheim, and we're gonna have dinner, and we're just gonna hang out and engage the people around us, and we're probably gonna go do an hour prayer walk after that. Just wanted to give you a heads up. Love to have you join, and that's why I think that Signal chat is is so great. It also pulls others in as they begin to invite others that are like-minded, that they know people. That's what's happened to us in Dallas Fort Worth. We had a signal chat start around the refugee work, and it just began to populate so quick with just relationships. Oh, I know so and so. They need to be in here.
Yeah.
So it just begins to pull people in. But just those activities of prayer walking or just getting together, just to hang, and or getting a word at a coffee shop, and just inviting people, and that builds that trust. But you're not just hanging out, you're actually doing something. And so that is something that we've seen to be to build that just synergy, and not again so that we can,
I like that. Synergy is good stuff.
Synergy, yeah. So not so that we can like manipulate or try to get people to come under our. It's like, no, like we share the same vision. We have a similarity in philosophy. We may not use the same tools, but we're operating under the same principles, and we're all about seeing the targets engaged and seeing fruit. So that to me is, I'll just say this one last thing, especially around networks and organizations that they don't have common tools, language, and process.
Mm-hmm.
You can come around targets. You can agree on targets, and you can certainly pray together. And if you organize events around those things, then you can begin to pull more people in. And also, like you said, Dave, is mid-levels, because you can do iron and irons with people that don't share common tools, language, and process with you. You can still serve their vision, because they're taking ownership of gaps.
I think, Mark, you go back to it. At the end of the day, it's we've yacked about this 1,000 times, but what we got to experience together in Oklahoma City, and still do, even though we've gone to multiple different places now, that time together that we spent in the Word, like you said, Kyle, and in the work, was everything. Training together, getting in the scriptures for problem solving, not like, and getting into the scriptures to really figure out what is it that God wants. Like, not just, I don't mean this meanly, but not just a devotional Bible study, like going to the Bible and saying, Jesus, what is it you are about, and what should we be about? Really going after, what is God saying? What did he want us to do? Really pulling out that, and then also doing the field work together, prayer walking together, sharing the gospel together, falling on our faces and looking stupid as we try to do things out in the field together. That time together is everything. And it just seems to me to be in a city, and it only increases. Like, we made it in Oklahoma City, we made it to the top 20, baby. We're in the top 20. I'm sitting here talking to guys that are in the top 5. But I would say it's just harder the bigger the city gets, getting time with people, and the more expensive a city gets, the more people are spending time making money. It just becomes hard to get time with people, and that's required for trust and relationship.
I think it does. And I've been learning this from you guys, Tim and Troy and Rick and all the guys out there in LA. The mobbing idea, it really is like, I'm going to come get shoulder to shoulder in the target and in the harvest with you. And I've been doing that. And that's the way to build trust with apostolics, is to come alongside and say, but genuinely mean it. Like, I want to come and just serve and be a part of what you're doing and help however I can. And let's go engage this together. And so, man, learning from what you guys are doing out there, it's really good.
The story comes out of the skater world, right? That mobbing story. Is that because I think whenever Steve Addison did the interview with Troy, and tell me the gentleman's name that came from Arizona, spent some time in Southern California. You remember?
Maximilian.
Maximus.
So do you know kind of this Maximus? If you guys want to, you can go to the Movements podcast and look up that podcast. It wasn't too long ago. But what's that mobbing concept? What does it mean? What do you guys mean by that? Is it?
It's just kind of like swarming. So it's a young
another
person,
term that nobody knows.
A young person's phrase of just getting together like a mob of people, that are like-minded Christians, and people take take note of like who are you guys? Like, what do you, I mean, they see you with Bibles open and, you know, or y'all are praying together. And I mean, you're in a public place and people are kind of like, what are you, who are you guys? Like, what are y'all doing? But if that's consistent in a location, then you begin to be seen as a community. And then, you know, there's an invitation to be a part of what you're doing. So, very biblical, right? See the apostolic teams in the book of Acts mobbing, you know, and that's really the concept. It's not just one person solo; it's a mob of people, where it's kind of a sight to see in a sense. It's a spectacle.
Yeah, I would say it's brought the network of churches together here. Like we may have different targets, but like it's really unified us together. You know, when someone's being baptized, you know, we're at each other's baptisms. You know, we're at each other's churches periodically. You know, we're just together on a regular basis, and it's just, yeah, it's brought that trust together. It's brought that unity together, because we are together quite often.
Thanks for indulging me on some questions. I just know that this UPG work, trying to raise up people who will take that strategy coordinator, or as I like to say, Kyle, wink, wink, strategy collaborator, who take that mantle. It's to raise the level and to get people up to the standard to where they feel confident to say, I'm willing to to take ownership of a focus area. That's a big jump, and that's a scary jump, and it takes time to get people to where they get enough confidence to even say, man, I'll try to do that. Not enough confidence to say I know what I'm doing, just getting them to the point that there's enough confidence for them to say, I'll try to go after that. And Mark, you and I yak about this probably to the point people are tired of hearing about it, but community is everything about getting somebody to that point, because it is scary enough to do it with a community. It's almost impossible to decide you're going to do it on your own. That's a very small percentage of people who are going to go rogue and just say, man, I'll just go and get it started. Most people are going to need that community to say, I got some backing. I'm not crazy. I'm not alone in this. I know I'm one of the people that, you know, I love having other guys that just remind me I'm not psycho.
Well, and I'm just encouraged, even just as we're kind of throwing this around, even just today, that we've got to do this. We've got to be a community of practice if we're going to reach global cities, because nobody's got that figured out. Nobody's got the corner on that market. And so
Right.
We've got to learn from each other, and even just tossing around, hey, what does mobbing look like over here? What does it look like in my context? How's that work? Why is that important in this kind of context? This is so key, even just to like go meta on us. We're doing that even on this podcast. I mean, this is so key for us to continue to move the work forward, is what we're doing even here today. So let's keep doing it.